Ancient Romans whitened their teeth with human urine. The urine was collected from public latrines and sold. Emperor Vespasian taxed the trade. It was that commercially important. The reason it worked: urea in urine breaks down into ammonia. Ammonia is a strong alkaline cleaner that dissolves stains from tooth surfaces. Ammonia-based compounds are still used in professional stain removal today. Rome discovered the chemistry 2,000 years before anyone understood what chemistry was. Human teeth have always been a survival asset. For most of evolutionary history, food was raw and tough. Losing your teeth meant losing your ability to get calories. Oral infections could spread through the body. When fire arrived and cooking began, it created a new problem. Cooking turned starches into sticky sugars that dissolved in the mouth. Bacteria fermented those sugars into acid. The acid dissolved enamel. Ancient plaque from 80,000 years ago already shows cavities, alongside trapped starch grains. The oldest widespread cleaning tool was a stick. You stripped bark from one end and chewed the exposed wood. The plant fibers separated into a frayed brush. One end scrubbed the tooth surfaces, the other cleaned between teeth. An integrated toothbrush and toothpick in a single biodegradable stick. Archaeological evidence places this in Mesopotamia and Babylonia around 3500 BCE. In 1924, excavators opened a royal Mesopotamian tomb, dating to 3000 BCE. Among the burial goods, a solid gold toothpick, attached by a golden chain to an ornate carrying case. 5,000 years ago, oral hygiene tools were luxury goods. Among the elite, they were status symbols. The first true bristle toothbrush appears in China during the Tang Dynasty, around the 7th to 10th century. The handle was carved from bamboo or animal bone. The bristles were coarse hairs from the neck of cold climate hogs. Cold climate pig hair is stiffer and holds its shape under scrubbing pressure. That design reached Europe via trade routes and was mass-produced by 1780. The nylon toothbrush you use now appeared in 1938. It's 86 years old. The bristle concept is 1,400 years old. The chew stick is 5,500 years old. In ancient India, classical medical texts prescribed tooth cleaning twice daily. Specific plants were matched to different body types: bitter, astringent, or aromatic. The spiritual framing was complex, but the underlying biology was sound. Bitter plants like neem contain natural germ-killing compounds. Astringent plants tighten gum tissue. Ancient Indian medicine treated the mouth as a gateway to whole-body health. Every one of these civilizations invented some version of this independently. Different plants, different materials, the same basic tool. The problem was universal, so was the response. Ancient Egyptians went further. They formulated tooth-cleaning powders. The recipe included crushed eggshells, pulverized pumice, lox of ash, and myrrh. It was effective at removing plaque and controlling odor. But the coarse minerals, pumice and rock salt, were extremely abrasive. Years of daily use sandpapered away the enamel. The enamel is the hard outer shell of a tooth. Once that's gone, the soft inner layer is exposed. Then, the nerve. The Egyptians' pursuit of cleaner teeth accelerated long-term dental destruction. The miswak, a chewing stick from the Salvadora persica tree, worked differently. When you chew it, plant cells rupture. A mixture of compounds releases directly into your saliva. One is a natural germ killer, targeting the bacteria behind gum disease. Another keeps the mouth from becoming too acidic. Tooth decay starts when acidity rises, and enamel begins to dissolve. The wood contains tiny polishing particles that clean without scraping enamel away. There's also natural fluoride, the same substance used in modern toothpaste. Clinical trials confirm a properly used miswak achieves comparable plaque reduction to a modern toothbrush. Ancient users discovered all of this through trial and error. Their mouths felt and worked better with this particular plant. They had no concept of what was happening at the chemical level. The evidence that makes this clearest comes from 48,000 years ago. At El Sidron cave in Spain, researchers sequenced ancient DNA from Neanderthal dental plaque. The individual had a visible, painful infection at the root of a tooth. Inside the plaque, traces of Penicillium rubens. That's the fungus that naturally produces penicillin. There was also genetic material from the poplar tree. Poplar bark contains the same compound that makes aspirin work. A Neanderthal in dental pain had found both a pain reliever and a natural antibiotic. Before any formal concept of medicine, they didn't understand what these plants contained. They knew what they did. The knowledge was observed, tested, and passed on. At Mayagor in modern Pakistan, researchers found 11 ancient molars from 9 individuals. Each had a small, perfectly circular hole bored into the chewing surface, 1 to 3 millimeters across, tracking down through the tooth, made by flint-tipped bow drills. The same tools used to start fires. These were clinical procedures performed on living patients to remove decayed tissue, with no anesthesia. This predates the earliest known Egyptian dental texts by over 1,000 years. In 7th century Maya civilization, practitioners were creating dental implants. They carved pieces of marine shell to fit into empty tooth sockets. Archaeologists x-rayed a Mayan jawbone containing 3 of these shell pieces. Bone tissue had grown tightly around each implant, fusing with it. This is the exact same biological process that modern titanium dental implants rely on. Mayan practitioners had discovered it empirically over 1,000 years earlier. Hunter-gatherer populations typically showed cavity rates below 2 to 5% of all teeth. When populations adopted farming, that rate jumped to 20 to 30%. Agricultural societies often had more elaborate cleaning tools than their predecessors. But monocrop cereals, wheat, barley, rice, maize, produced continuous acid exposure. The dietary shift overwhelmed the cleaning technology. The most important variable in ancient oral health was diet, not brushing. The tartar your dentist scrapes off your teeth is remarkably stable. Once it hardens, it doesn't decompose. It can survive intact for tens of thousands of years. Inside it, food particles, plant traces, even smoke from ancient cooking fires. Whatever was in your mouth when the tartar formed gets permanently sealed inside. In 2016, researchers analyzed tartar from ancient hunter-gatherers in Serbia. By the standard historical timeline, farming hadn't yet reached their region. Inside the tartar, starch grains from domesticated wheat and barley. Dated to 6600 BCE, 500 years before anyone thought possible. Those teeth had stored evidence of long-distance trade networks across ancient Europe, rewriting a chapter of prehistory that had seemed settled. We tend to imagine ancient people stumbling forward in the dark, waiting for science. But the story you just watched suggests something different. They didn't know what bacteria were, or what pH meant, or how antibiotics worked. They just knew what worked, and they passed it on. The intelligence to protect the body, to find what helps, hasn't changed. It was always there. See you in the next one.